All right, ladies, these are the last 4 postcards, and I am trying to keep this under 10 minutes, so I'm just going to get right into it. Okay, real quick. Whoops, I had a few questions about these stamps, about the girls. I didn't use this one. I didn't get to use her, but I did use the other two. They are by a company called Inky Antics. They do have a website, and they still are available. Their names are Zoe, Phoebe, and Alexis, and they're about $8 a piece. Okay, so they are still available. Just go on their website. I checked it out. The other company is by Ducks in a Row. That was a lady with a coffee cup, and the other stamp that I'm going to show you in the postcard right now. Go on their website. They still have their stamps too. Okay, let me get through this really quick. The next postcard that I made, I just wanted to give it a really vintage feel, and I have this really cool stamp that it's retired. It's by Stampin' Up. It's called Friendship's Journey, and I wanted this to be like a friendship-y vintage type card. So I stamped a saying that's in that set. It says, "Friendship is a journey of time, love, and memories." I did that in black stays on, and then I stamped the lady in black stays on. Heat embossed them both with fine detail clear embossing powder. I colored her in with markers, and then I went back and embossed her again. And I really like how that came out, really vintage looking, really pretty. And this paper in the background really went well with the card. And then I had a little charm that said postcard. I glued that on there, and then a little ribbon rose. I put that on there. So that's the next one. Okay. This next one has one of my favorite quotes also. I have a ton of them, guys. I think they're all my favorite. This one, and I have some really sarcastic quotes too, so I might start shooting those in there. This one says, "My heart is forever at your service," by Shakespeare. And I have this stamp. It's a little girl this is Embossing Arts. Excuse me. That set I bought back in like 1998. I didn't check to see if this is still available, but the company is Embossing Arts, and her name is Ruby Sue. All right, I stamped her. Looks like she's offering, well, not looks like she is. She's offering like a little bouquet of flowers. And I stamped her in black. And the same thing, heat embossed, colored her with markers, heat embossed again. I drew myself a little sun. And it's a real whimsical stamp, so I wanted my sun to, reflect the same. Excuse me. I did that. And then I just hot glued some little heart, little buttons right here. And I just love that quote because I think it can really cover a lot if you're at a loss for words. For somebody, if you want to tell them something or write that on the front of a card. So that's the next one. Okay. This next one was inspired by the 80s movie Pretty in Pink, Molly Ringwald, and Roxy Fur. She shared this stamp set the other day that someone had sent to her because she'd been looking for it. I've loved this stamp for a really long time, and it's been around for an awfully long time. But before, it was only like just the dress was available on a wood mount stamp. And I never bought it. I don't know why, because I think it's so cool. But I finally bought it when I saw that Roxy had it. I'm like, I'm just going to break down and get it. I was at Mike's one day, so I picked it up. Thank you. Everyone wants to come in. Anyways, the stamp set comes with great other stamps. So, in the movie Pretty in Pink, if you haven't already seen it, which I'm sure most people have, Molly Ringwald is definitely dances to the beat of her own drum. And so that's what I loved about her character. She stood for what she was and dressed how she dressed and whatever, what have you. She was her own person, and that's what I like about this. So I stamped "Be Yourself," and then I stamped the girl and colored her in, and then the dress I colored in pink, and then I cut off the shank on a heart-shaped button and put that on a flower. And then I wrote this quote, and it's by Dr. Seuss, and it reads, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind," by Dr. Seuss. And I did make a little boo-boo right here, but I covered it with bling so you'll never know. Anyways, I just think this really represents, be your own person and stand up for what you believe, and, just be yourself. Be yourself. Be true to yourself. To thine own self, be true. Okay. Now the last one, okay, this is, besides the Rise and Shine, this is my favorite one. Alrighty, I'm gonna make this really quick because this is the part I can't fit in. And I promise, ladies, next week I'll go back to, my basic goofiness. And this project just really challenged me creatively and took over my heart, which is where I'm sharing from. So if I'm a little too mushy for some of you, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm not trying to, I'm just sharing from my heart. That's where this comes from. That's where my art and this project comes from, is from my heart. And I hope it goes out to, to receptive arms. Okay, two things. This next postcard was inspired by a passage out of this book called The Red Tent. It's a great mother, womanly type story. It's not a religious book. It kind of looks at it as taken from a story from the Bible, but it's just a really lovely story. So anyways, I read this about six years ago, and there's a passage in there that has stuck in my gut since then. It's like deep rooted in my soul forever. The second place it came from was a lesson that I learned, a life lesson that was taught to me by a young child. I say child because she's only like 16 or 17 at the time. Okay, in my son's junior year of high school, he met this young girl, and she had a lot of troubles, and she was shuffled back between her mom and dad's house. They were separated. I think they were divorced, and they were both remarried, and she got to be part of our life for a very short time. My son and her became really good friends, and one day she had come over our home, and it was during a particularly rough time, and I was going to take my son to work, and then I was going to take her home. So we're in our van, and she's sitting behind me, and I look up in the rearview mirror, and I'm looking at her face, and she looks so lonely and lost that I had this overwhelming urge to get out of the car, get in the back seat, and hold her to my chest and just hug her like I've never hugged anybody before and tell her, please hang on, it'll be okay. But I didn't, because I didn't want to creep her out. As much as she'd been over her house, I just didn't, it was too emotional. I didn't want to, overstep my bounds. So I didn't do it. Okay. Tragically, a few months later, this young lady was killed in the most horrific car accident. It was terrible. It was terrible. She died a few days before Christmas. And that day, I told myself, because I regretted that I didn't do what my heart told me to do. I regret it, and I will regret it to my last dying day that I didn't do that. But I learned a lesson on that day. She taught me a lesson that I will never again, ever let that feeling go by unrecognized, ever. If I feel that need, that someone needs that, or there's something that I have to do, because that's your heart telling you, ladies, that's your heart saying, go do it. It's that inner voice of you that is giving you that push. Go do it. So I'll never let that pass. Okay, so my neighbor just turned on his radio really loud. If you hear that music in the background, that's what it is. Anyhow, so I made this postcard, and I stamped this stamp. It's by Ducks in a Row, and it's a great stamp, I feel, because it represents quite a few things, and you can interpret this in many ways. Not only a mother holding a child, but a woman being nurturing to another person. Okay, so I stamped her, embossed her, I colored her, and embossed again, and then in my own writing, I wrote on there the passage from this book that I'm going to read to you. Okay, I'm going to make it really quick because I don't want to go over 10. Okay, if you have the book, it's on page 91. It's the first paragraph. If you don't have the book and you buy it, that's where it's at. And this is the little girl in the story talking about her mother. She says, because she was ready for bed. She was actually lying down to go to sleep. And she says, I shuddered. My mother put her hand on my cheek to feel for fever, but I was cool to her touch. Later that night, I awoke screaming and sweating in a terror of falling, but she came to me and lay down beside me, and the warmth of her body comforted me. Secure in the knowledge of her love, I began to cross over into sleep. Then I roused for a moment, thinking I heard Rachel's voice saying, remember this moment, when your mother's body heals every trouble of your soul. That part right there just gets me. We as women have such awesome power to convey that love to people that at that moment, okay, I know it doesn't really solve the problem, but it does for that moment. That touch from your mother, that hug, will soothe every trouble of your soul. And I just want to encourage all of you ladies, because you all have it in you, whether you're a mother, whether you have a child or not. A mother entails nurturing, mentoring, caring, kindness, love, advice, and we all have that in us, ladies, regardless. You could be a mother to a young a young person at work. If you're a teacher, you're a mother, you have it in you. So anyways, all right, girls, I just want to end with that. I encourage you to be on the lookout for those opportunities where your heart tells you to do something, and don't let the moment go by, because trust me, you will not regret that you did it. You will not regret that you did it. You won't regret that you acted on that heart moment, you know? So anyways, I had the most awesome time with these postcards. They challenged me they challenged my creativity. They inspired me. All of your comments, actually all of your comments inspired me. My husband asked me the other day, I'm going to make this real quick. My husband asked me the other day because he saw all my artwork out and he said, wow, you've really been creating a lot. He goes, what inspired you? And I'm like, oh, I'm teaching him good. And you know what inspired me? All of you guys have inspired me to create like I haven't created in a really, really long time. I'm getting verklempt. Sorry about that. All of you have challenged me and pushed me, and your comments have been amazing. And you've left me stories like personal messages that have touched my heart in a way that I can't express. So anyways, girls, thank you, thank you, thank you. A million thank yous. So you guys have a great Valentine's Day, and I promise to be back to goofiness next week, okay? So you guys be inspired. Bye.